There's a tremendous lesson we need to learn from the Babylonian exile, because everything in the past is a model for the future. The Babylonian exile was a unique experience at the time. We lived for 850 years in the land of Israel. 440 years before we had a temple and 400 years with a temple. It was such a traumatic experience. Those Jews who lived through that horrific transition from destruction into exile, they saw it, they felt it. And they were only there for 70 years until they came back. Today, we find ourselves, the majority of Jews, for 2,000 years in exile. 2,000 years. It's only a recent event in the last generation or so that we even have a state of Israel. But the biggest problem with being in exile for so long is we begin to think it is normal. And it's very not normal to be in exile. I always make the comparison between someone who is born blind and someone who is sighted and loses their sight. Who would miss sight more? What you don't have, you don't miss. A person who's born blind would think that's normal. That's all they've ever known. But a person who had sight, they would appreciate what losing it would mean. As those people who saw what Jerusalem was, saw the temple, and then ended up in Babylon. And today we understand this is exactly the situation we find ourselves in. Today, this is a period of time of Jewish prosperity in most parts of the world. Jews have achieved levels of accomplishment and prosperity and comfort that are unprecedented in Jewish history, and unprecedented in human history. But the big problem with that is that we think that's normal. And it's not. Normative Judaism is so far from where the Jewish people are today. Yes, we do have a Jewish state, and that's a great step forward. But normative Judaism is having Jerusalem as our capital, recognized by the world. But having a temple, Jerusalem being rebuilt, is having that holiest of sites. Having a high priest, temple service, a king, prophets, miracles, direct connection with the Torah, Sanhedrin. So few of those things, if any, exist in the Jewish world today. So we have to recognize when we study the past and we contrast what happened before the Babylonian exile to after, we have to get ourselves in the right mind frame to understand that what we want is what we had in the past. We need to get back to that. There's an old Chinese proverb that says, only when we're sick of our sickness will we cease to be sick. And what we need to do as the Jewish people is to recognize that we can only actualize our potential when we return to a normal state. And hopefully, by beginning to understand what we lack and recognizing that the situation we're in today, even though it might be very comfortable and nice in the diaspora, is very far from the ideal. And by doing that, we'll be taking the first small but extremely important step to bringing ourselves and the entire world back to the state it's supposed to be in.